don't have to do this! A daughter's desperate cries echo as her mother's life is stolen, a son's rage erupts against a serial killer, and two brothers unleash a brutal courtroom attack to avenge their mother. These are not scenes from a scripted drama, but real-life courtroom confrontations, driven by unbearable loss and raw human pain. This documentary delves into the heart-wrenching true crime stories of Dale Williams, Vashon Flowers, and Alfred Gainor, where the grief of victims' families collides with justice in explosive chaos. From a mother's brutal murder in Ohio sparking a son's vengeance, to a domestic killing in Michigan igniting a son's desperate charge, to a serial killer's reckoning in Massachusetts facing a grieving son's fury, these cases lay bare the devastating toll of loss. What drives families to confront killers in the sanctity of a courtroom? Can justice ever soothe their shattered hearts? Join us as we unravel these stories of sorrow, rage, and the search for closure. Dale Williams, a mother's murder and son's revenge. They beat him like he deserved it. Two sons leap across a courtroom to deliver their own justice. What drove their rage to boil over? Our journey begins in Youngstown, Ohio, on June 2, 2017, where Dale Williams, a 62-year-old man with a history of domestic disputes, committed an unthinkable act. In a fit of rage after a bitter breakup, Williams ran his ex-girlfriend, Elizabeth Pledger-Stewart, off Market Street in a calculated act of violence. The 46-year-old mother of two, a beloved nurse known for her warmth, was trapped in her wrecked car when Williams approached and fired multiple shots, killing her instantly. Surveillance footage from a nearby gas station and witness testimonies led to his arrest within hours, charged with aggravated murder and unlawful use of a weapon. Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.01, Section 2923.13. At his sentencing on June 27, 2017, in Mahoning County Common Pleas Court. Before Judge Maureen Sweeney, the courtroom was thick with tension. Pledger-Stewart's sons, Anthony Dees, 30, and Jerome Stewart, 23, sat in the gallery, their faces etched with grief for their mother, who had raised them single-handedly through hardship. Williams, shackled and expressionless, pleaded guilty, hoping to avoid a trial. As Judge Sweeney read the sentence, 23 years to life, the brothers' pain erupted into action. Security footage, aired by WKBN News, captured Anthony vaulting over the defense table, grabbing Williams by his feet and dragging him to the floor. Jerome joined, landing a barrage of punches and kicks as Williams curled up, defenseless. "You took our mom!" Anthony shouted, according to the Vindicator. Deputies struggled to intervene, one deploying a taser to subdue the brothers, who were pulled away, faces streaked with tears and rage. Williams, bloodied but not seriously injured, wiped his face as he was escorted out, later sentenced to life with parole eligibility after 23 years. Now 70, he serves at Lorain Correctional Institution, a shadow of the man who destroyed a family. Anthony and Jerome face charges of assault, contempt of court, and obstruction of justice. Ohio Revised Code, Section 2903.13, Section 2705.02, receiving 6 months probation after pleading guilty. The case, covered extensively by WFMJ News, highlighted Ohio's 10% rise in domestic violence homicides from 2015 to 2019, Ohio BCI data. Pledger-Stewart's sister, speaking to Youngstown News, described Elizabeth as a light that held us together. The brothers' attack, while unlawful, reflected a visceral need for justice, leaving Youngstown to wrestle with the ripple effects of domestic violence and courtroom chaos. The community held a vigil for Elizabeth, raising $5,000 for her grandchildren's education. But her absence remains a wound that time struggles to heal. Vashon Flowers, a wife's murder. Sparks a son's fury. "Please don't do this." A daughter's cries couldn't save her mother.
"You don't have to do this, Vashon. Please don't do this. You don't have to do this."
Now her brother seeks vengeance in court. We moved to Muskegon Heights, Michigan, on January 23, 2019, where Vashon Flowers, a 46-year-old factory worker with a history of domestic issues, turned a petty argument into a tragedy. Flowers and his wife, Jaime Flowers, 42, clashed over cigarettes, a dispute that escalated over a day of heated exchanges. Police responded to a domestic call, separating the couple. But Flowers, consumed by anger, returned hours later. Kicking in the door of their home on Reynolds Street, he found Jaime in their bedroom. In front of their 17-year-old daughter Paris, Flowers choked Jaime, ignoring her pleas. "You don't have to do this," before firing 4 shots from a .38 revolver, killing her instantly. Paris, trembling, testified, "I saw blood on her shirt, bullet holes."
Yes, on her shirt. Gunshots, bullet holes in her shirt. And
Flowers surrendered to Muskegon Heights police, charged with open murder, Michigan, Commerce Laws Section 750.316. At a pretrial hearing on May 15, 2019, in Muskegon County Circuit Court before Judge Timothy Hicks, the courtroom was a powder keg. Paris's testimony, replayed via MLIVE, described the horror. "He was choking her. I heard 4 gunshots. Jaime's son, London Jones, 21, sat with his siblings in the gallery, clutching a photo of his mother, a devoted caregiver who loved gospel music." As Paris recounted the murder, London's grief turned to rage. He leaped over the barricade, charging at Flowers with clenched fists, shouting, "You killed her!" Deputies tackled him just feet from the defendant, restraining him as he sobbed. The incident, captured on court cameras and reported by WZZM News, led to London's removal, though prosecutors declined to charge him, citing his emotional turmoil. On July 10, 2019, Flowers was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. Now 52, he resides at Ionia Correctional Facility, isolated from the family he shattered. Paris, speaking to Fox 17, said, "She was my best friend. He took our future." Jaime's siblings launched a local domestic violence awareness campaign, noting Michigan's 14% increase in domestic fatalities from 2017 to 2021, Michigan State Police data. The courtroom outburst, while fleeting, exposed the raw anguish of children forced to face their mother's killer, leaving Muskegon Heights to confront the scourge of domestic violence that claims over 40 lives annually in the state. Alfred Gainor, the serial killer's courtroom. Reckoning, he took my mother's life. A son's fury explodes against a serial killer. What toll does a monster's reign exact? We conclude in Springfield, Massachusetts, where Alfred Gainor, a 31-year-old drifter, unleashed a reign of terror from 1995 to 1998. Gainor, a drug addict with a prior robbery conviction, sexually assaulted and murdered 9 women, targeting vulnerable victims in Springfield's low-income neighborhoods. Among them was Vera Hallams, 44, a mother of 4 and church volunteer, found strangled in her apartment in October 1997. DNA evidence, collected from cigarette butts and clothing, linked Gainor to Hallams' murder in April 1998, later tying him to 8 other killings through forensic analysis. Charged with 9 counts of first-degree murder, Massachusetts, General Laws, Chapter 2, 165, Section 1. Gainor's hearing on April 15, 1998, in Hampton County Superior Court, before Judge Constance Sweeney, was fraught with emotion. Vera Hallams' son, Eric Downs, 24, sat in the gallery, his mother's memory fueling his anger. As Gainor's attorney argued for bail, citing extreme confinement conditions, Downs could take no more. He vaulted over the barricade, landing a single, powerful punch to Gainor's face before deputies intervened. Gainor's sister tried to shield him, screaming, but Downs' rage echoed Vera's stolen life. Officers restrained Downs, who faced charges of assault and contempt of court, Massachusetts. General Laws, Chapter 2. 168, Section 13b, later receiving 6 months probation. Gainor pleaded guilty to all 9 murders in November 1998, accepting 8 consecutive life sentences without parole. Now 58, he remains at Sousa Baranowski Correctional Center, a name synonymous with Springfield's darkest chapter. The case, covered by the Springfield Republican and Mass Live, revealed a 20% spike in violent crime in Springfield during the 1990s, FBI UCR data. Vera's daughter, speaking at a memorial, called her a beacon of love who never gave up on anyone. Down's attack, though brief, embodied the collective grief of a city ravaged by Gainor's crimes, with over 200 community members attending vigils for the victims. Springfield implemented stricter parole monitoring for repeat offenders post-1998, but the scars of Gainor's rampage endure. These stories, Dale Williams facing a son's brutal vengeance, Vashon Flowers enduring a son's desperate charge, and Alfred Gainor confronting a grieving son's fury, lay bare the raw intersection of loss and justice. In the sterile confines of a courtroom, where order is meant to prevail, the pain of losing a loved one can ignite chaos that no gavel can silence. Youngstown, Muskegon, and Springfield bear the weight of these tragedies, where families, driven by unbearable sorrow, sought to reclaim what killers stole. Yet, their actions raise profound questions. Does confronting a killer bring closure, or does it deepen the wounds? Can a courtroom, built on law, contain the chaos of human grief? As we reflect on these cases, we're reminded that justice is not just a verdict, it's a fragile bridge between loss and healing. If you or someone you know is struggling, reach out to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 or the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more true crime stories, and join us as we continue to explore the human stories behind the headlines. Together, let's honor the victims and seek a path toward healing.